Good evening and welcome to the national news broadcast on ChannelEye. We are coming to you live from the National News Studio here at ChannelEye Rupavahini Corporation. I'm Natalia Veeravardhana and joining me is Charita Minipurarachi. First, let's take a look at the headlines for tonight.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requests the nation to have faith in the action that he would take on behalf of the people during this crisis period. The minister in charge says that several more ships carrying fuel will reach the island today or in the next few days. The Indian Prime Minister expresses readiness to assist Sri Lanka at any required moment. President of Ukraine says talks between Russia and Ukraine representatives have been directed on a realistic inclusion. The president says that the background for a satisfied employment for state employees should be prepared. North Korea once again tests a missile.
His Excellency the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa did address the nation short while ago, and here are some insights of the story and the address of him to the nation. Whereas President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requests the nation to have faith in the action that he would take on behalf of the people during this crisis period. The President made these remarks while addressing the nation a short while ago.
Atipujya Mahasangharatne Navasarai.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that he is aware of the shortages of essential items and increase of prices, as well as the issues such as gas shortage, fuel shortage and power cuts. He added that he is sensitive to the many sufferings of the people who have to experience over the past 2 months. The President said that he knows that the situation will continue for reasons beyond our control, though the government makes maximum possible efforts with regard to these situations. President Rajapaksa said that he accepts responsibility for his own actions. Today, he said that he is determined to make tough decisions to find solutions to the inconveniences that the people are experiencing. He said that a National Economic Council and an advisory committee have been appointed in assistance for these efforts. He said that he will constantly monitor whether the decisions he makes through this are implemented. Therefore, first of all, he requested the nation to have faith in his actions he take on behalf of the people. He said that he is well aware of the difficulties faced by the people. He said that he was able to better understand and manage all the difficulties faced by the soldiers who were at the forefront of the war against the brutal terrorism and the innocent civilians who were affected by the war. He pointed out that Sri Lanka is not the only country in the world affected by the prevailing crisis situation. The entire world is engulfed with various hardships. Increasing shipping costs, rising commodity prices and shortages of certain goods caused by the COVID-19 pandemic are all beyond the control of the government. However, he said that the government has adopted concessionary initiatives for the benefit of the people. When those who contributed to the creation of this crisis are criticizing the government in front of the people today, he said that he was attempting to immediately resolve the crisis and provide relief to the people. In a crisis situation like this, it is the responsibility of the politicians and intellectuals of a country to collectively find solutions to the issues, he added. The President said that the root cause of current issues is the foreign exchange crisis. He further said that the projected export earnings for this year is $12 billion before the rupee was floated. According to the data of the last 2 months, the country has to bear $22 billion as the import cost this year. Accordingly, this will result in a trade deficit of $10 billion. However, once the rupee is floated, export earnings are expected to reach $13 billion. This will also reduce the cost of imports from $22 billion to $20 billion, he added. The President said that if that happens, the trade deficit could be reduced to $7 billion and the government should aim for this target. He also says this country can also expect $4 billion by providing export services and $5 billion in remittances from expatriate workers. Accordingly, he said that trade deficit will be $2.4 billion. He said that all must take action to fill this deficit and increase the foreign exchange reserves. He said that the government has initiated discussions with international financial institutions as well as with the friendly countries regarding repayment of loan installments. The government is in discussions with various parties to implement a new method regarding this which will be beneficial to the country, he added. Yesterday's discussion with the International Monetary Fund was also held for this purpose, the President pointed out. Subsequent to his discussions with the International Monetary Fund, President Rajapaksa said that he has decided to work with them after examining the advantages and disadvantages. Due to several decisions he has taken in the recent past, the President said that the government was able to control the import expenditure to a great extent. He said that the government suspended importing vehicles 2 years ago after foreseeing this issue in advance. In addition, he said that they encouraged local industries and also stopped the importation of many non-essential food items and took steps to cultivate those crops in the country. Now he said that the nation can witness the successful results of those initiatives. The President said that the most serious issue the nation faces in controlling the cost of imports is the rapidly rising fuel prices in the world market. Generally, more than 20% of the import expenditure is spent on purchasing fuel, he added. In the last few months alone, he said that fuel prices in the world market have more than doubled. This is the reason why the increase in fuel prices in the country was inevitable. He said that fuel is widely used in the country not only for vehicles, but also to generate electricity. Therefore, he said that he constantly took steps to discuss and encourage relevant agencies to use renewable energy sources as much as possible. Therefore, by limiting the use of fuel and electricity as much as possible, the citizens too can extend their support to the country at the time, he added. The President said that he hopes that the nation will understand the responsibility lies at this challenging time. The tourism industry, which was collapsed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, is reviving. The last 2 months have seen a clear increase in tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka, he added. He said that Sri Lanka is a nation that has experienced many adversities and at the same time conquered those challenges throughout the history. He said that the nation has faced foreign invasions, great famines, natural disasters and threats of terrorism. The way the government dealt with the COVID-19 situation has been praised even by the international organizations, he added. However, he said that the nation has to understand that they have to face difficulties when implementing solutions for the issues for a certain period of time. Therefore, he urged the people not to be discouraged but to unite as a nation to overcome this crisis. He emphasized that the nation requested him to build a secure, disciplined and a modern developed country, as well as a better education for the children. Almost 2.5 years of his tenure were devoted to protect the people and their child from the pandemic. He said that he will dedicate remaining period of his tenure to accomplish those original goals. The President urged the Cabinet, the Parliament and public officials to work together as a team to achieve the desired goal of providing a better country for the children with a great commitment. He said he entered into politics on people's invitation. The nation has placed an utmost trust in him. Therefore, the President said that he will never betray the trust people have placed in him and protect it with a great commitment.
And now moving on to more stories from home. Natalia, we are dealing with a fuel crisis these days for Sri Lanka and there are certain consequences with regard to that, and this story is about that update. Minister Gamini Lokuge says that several more ships carrying fuel stocks are scheduled to arrive at Sri Lanka today or in the next few days. He further says that oil stocks of 34,000 metric tons is being unloaded at the Colonnava storage complex. He added that therefore will not be any fuel shortage later on. Minister Gamini Lokuge said that there are 20,000 metric tons of fuel at Mutharajvilla even at this moment. Ship load of 34,000 metric tons are being unloaded in Colonnava. In addition, a ship worth 10,000 metric tons of kerosene and furnace oil are being unloaded. Minister Lokuge added normally oil from a diesel bouncer would last around 2 days. But today a stock would be depleted just within 2 hours. This has become a challenge. Minister Lokuge further said that Indian trade line ships have started arriving the island from today. Ships would come in a row till the 20th of this month. He further said that they have negotiated with several companies to receive oil on credit basis. One of the companies which signed an agreement has agreed to send up 6 shiploads of oil since June. The minister also said that there is a difficulty in distribution due to heavy demand. Chairman of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Sumit Vijayasinghe, said that they have the stocks needed for the coming days. He also said that they are receiving stocks as planned. Therefore, there is no crisis relating to fuel supply. Meanwhile, the Lanka Private Tank Owners Association has kept away from oil transportation since midnight yesterday, focusing on several demands. Minister Gamini Lakuge and Chairman of Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation Sumit Vijayasinghe, as well as Secretary to the Ministry KDR Olga, were engaged in talks with the Lanka Private Tank Owners Association this morning. The association has decided to call off the strike after the talks at the Kolanau Petroleum Storage Complex. Meanwhile, the police have taken into custody 4,000 gas cylinders concealed in a depot in Angunakola Palace. The police say that they were prepared to be sold at exorbitant prices. The cylinders were hidden in 2 large-scale camel trucks and 2 lorries. The contraband included gas cylinders of the capacities of 12.5 kg, 5 kg and 2.5 kg. The stocks have been handed over to the Consumer Affairs Authority. Measures were taken to dispatch part of the stocks to a distribution centre in Ranna. The remaining stocks are to be sold among the general public. Head of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Hambantata R.I.T. Lakshman, said that concealing of gas has specially become a problem. The hoarders are trying to sell them at extremely high prices. He has requested the traders not to further burden the general public. Some of the items were placed in a filling station in Vakade, Panadura. The people have extended their protest over hiding cylinders in a gas distribution centre.
Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says that India is always willing to help Sri Lanka at any instances, as Sri Lanka is one of its closest and friendly neighbours. The Indian government has also expressed willingness to develop the agricultural, renewable energy, digitalization, tourism and fisheries sectors of the island. These facts were disclosed at a meeting between Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Indian Parliament premises today. The office of the Sri Lankan High Commission in India says that the talks between the Indian leader and Minister Basil Rajapaksa, who is on a 2-day official visit in India, were conducted on the foundation of friendship. Attention has been focused on this occasion on the country's short and mid-term economic program. Minister Rajapaksa has extended gratitude to the Indian Prime Minister for coming into assistance at a difficult moment. The two groups have also discussed on Sri Lanka receiving Indian technological experience on organic farming, utilization of nano-fertilizer and exchange of relevant technological knowledge, as well as on bilateral exchange of specialist knowledge on personalized services within a digitalized space. The meeting has also explored on the possibilities of developing locations in Sri Lanka related to the Ramayana historical epic and also on promoting places of Buddhist worship in the state of Gujarat. They have also dealt on the issue of developing other places of tourist attraction. The High Commissioners of both countries also took part in the event.
And we are dealing with the Russia-Ukrainian war, Natalia. Like, there are certain consequences with regard to the war, and there were certain rounds of peace talks as well, and a ceasefire for 12 hours were lasted for a recent period of time. So we have an update with regard to that.
Yes, it has been nearly 3 weeks now where Russia have started war against Ukraine, and yes, here we have the latest on the Ukrainian-Russian conflict.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says peace talks with Russia are beginning and to sound more realistic.
Negotiators from the two countries met via video link with the Ukrainian delegation pressing for a ceasefire, troop withdrawals and security guarantees. Ukrainian negotiator Mikhailo Podolyak said that there are fundamental contradictions during the talks, but certainly room for compromise. Meanwhile, the Prime Ministers of the Czech Republic, Poland and Slovenia visited Kyiv yesterday, an unequivocal show of support for Ukraine. The European leaders travelled to Kyiv, a city that is still under bombardment, forcing many people to spend nights sheltering in underground stations. Russian forces stepped up strikes overnight on several suburbs of Kyiv as part of their unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. Nearly 3 weeks into the invasion, Russian forces are currently halted outside Kyiv despite the targeting of the city and its suburbs. The conflict has killed and wounded thousands of people and sent 3 million Ukrainians fleeing into neighboring countries. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky expected to address the United States Congress virtually today. The address will also be aired live across the country, allowing the Ukrainian president to directly appeal to American citizens as well. President Zelensky is expected to renew his call for a no-fly zone over Ukraine, a move the Biden administration has repeatedly avoided, citing the potential for direct conflict with Russia. President Biden is expected to announce an additional $800 million in security assistance for the Kyiv government, adding to billions of dollars in security assistance sent to Ukraine by the US since the annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014. The United States and other Western allies have hit Russia with sweeping economic sanctions, targeting Russian banks, oligarchs and energy imports over the last 3 weeks, making Russia the most sanctioned country in the world. Western countries have already sanctioned top Russian officials, including President Vladimir Putin and Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Moscow-allied Belarus. President Biden is due to travel to Europe next week to attend an emergency NATO summit in Brussels, where he will assert Washington's ironclad backing to its allies. The US Senate unanimously passed a resolution condemning Russia President Vladimir Putin as a war criminal. Russia's foreign ministry has also imposed sanctions on US President Joe Biden and 12 other US officials. The list includes Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Press Secretary Jen Psaki, and other members of the administration. However, the move from both sides is a reflection of the growing chasm between the United States and Russia in the wake of the latter's invasion of Ukraine.
And meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that necessary background for satisfied employment should be prepared for all government servants. He has also instructed relevant officials to immediately resolve the problems pertaining to the promotions which have arisen due to the shortcomings in the recruitment procedures. The President was engaged in an inspection tour at the Sub-Inspection Department on Main Engineering at the Department of Railways in Dematagoda and also at the Maligavatta Railway Yard today. The President, upon inspection of the daily routing of the two institutions, has inquired onto the prevailing shortcomings and requirements from the employees. The main task of the Transportation Sub-Department is to instruct train engineers, compartments and wagon and to readjust them for appropriate usage. Other responsibilities of the institute include the certification of feasibility of new fleets of engines and compartments and also to engage in daily repairing activities. The institute is also in charge of reassignment into service of trains which have been subjected to accidents and derailments. Trade union representatives have pointed out that unsatisfactory working conditions have been created among workers due to deployment of labour-grade employees to vaccines of technical officers. The President has ordered the officials to direct young labourers with skills to the Sri Lanka German Training Institute and Vocational Training Institute for training opportunities and thereby to prepare a proper promotional strategy. The union representatives have also pointed out that the benefits of utilizing train for fuel transport as well. As on the tourism industry, the President has also inspected the mechanical yard of the Tantri Rail Company and Arimara Road, Dematagoda, which is engaged in preparing dilapidated train compartments. And meanwhile, a protest of Samagi Janabala Vega against economic difficulties was held in Colombo yesterday with the participation of a large gathering. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa has requested on this occasion a speedy presidential election. SJB activists from different parts of the country have arrived in buses of the Presidential Secretariat in Gold Face Green, where opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has addressed the agitators. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that they want a presidential election without a delay. And this was the scene prevailed at the Presidential Secretariat at the Gold Face Green after the protests.
And meanwhile, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has unveiled pinnacle of a newly constructed Chaitya at the Mahinda Rajapaksa College in Homagama today. The Prime Minister has offered the first floral puja to the Chaitya, and almsgiving to the Mahasangha was also conducted. Anunayaka of the Malwatha chapter, Venerable Niyangoda Vijitha Thera, Mahanayaka of the Kotte Sri Samagri Dharma Mahasangha Sabha, Venerable Ittapane Dhammalankara Thera, and Minister Bandula Gunawardena were also present at the occasion.
And we're moving to a heart-touching story of the demise of Nadungame Raja and his Mahot Kalu Mama. Nadungame Raja was the tallest tusker from elephants among the tamed elephants in South Asia. The mammoth elephant was revered with great benevolence by its owner, Ayurvedic physician Harsha Dharmavijay, and its caretaker, Mahot, was Kalu Mama. Both of them have been subjected to great mental torture due to the constant practice of many people inquiring them on the history of the dead elephant. Nadungame Raja had carried the sacred relics of the historic Kandy Sri Dalanda Perahara on 17 occasions. Raja was an extremely disciplined animal who performed its duties with great dedication and majesty. As a result, it was subjected to great admiration among the local and foreign public. Kalumama, or Wilson Kodituaku, is the same age of the departed tusker. He had recalled how he followed the steps of Nadungame Raja in every occasion. With the demise of Nadungame Raja, Kalumama had left the instrument he used to tame the elephant and living in a great sorrow. However, the behavior of some have caused some concerns as they tend to inquire on the past events in the life of the tusker. It had been pointed out that it is the responsibility of all to carefully look after the former caretaker of the majestic tusker in the same manner they looked after it. And the Raid Amazon Tourism Sports Carnival has commenced today. The beginning is conducted in the vicinity of the Sigiriya, where it is a higher tourist attraction. The sports festival has commenced with the attendance of Minister of Tourism Prasanna Ranatunga, Secretary to the Minister of Tourism S.A. Tiarachi, Chairman of the Conscience and Neem Resort Company Chandra Vikramasinghe have also participated. Sri Lanka is the fifth country to hold the tourist fair. The first stage of the program will last 5 days. Nearly 260 female French players will take part in the first stage. The festival has started with a 14-kilometer race, and it also includes rowing, cycling, archery and several other sporting events. Nearly 3 billion rupees has been spent on the promotional activities of the event. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga further said that the Raid Amazon is the largest tourism attraction program even to have a better organized in the country. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that Raid Amazon is the outcome of their efforts at recent tour in France. The minister said that during visits to Sri Lanka, airline had joined hands with them and expressed intention to hold an event in Sri Lanka. The involvement of the foreign firm enables Sri Lanka to reduce expenditure and to earn millions of dollars of foreign exchange. The minister also said that tourists visiting places in the island is extremely conducive for tourism. This also enables to have propaganda on Sri Lanka tourism in the international as well.
It has nearly been 3 years since the deadly attacks on Easter Sunday back in the year 2019, taking lives of more than 300 people in Sri Lanka as well as in other countries as well. So here are the latest on this, the council reports as well as the committee which are taking actions against this terrorist attack.
President's Council, appearing on behalf of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, said before the Supreme Court today that failure to take prevailing measures on the occurrence of the Easter Sunday terror attack, even upon receipt of the intelligence information, amounts to a breakdown of national security of the country. He also said that former president, who had also acted as Minister of Defence during this period, is responsible for the attack. The fundamental rights petition submitted with the charges of violation of basic human rights as a result of inability to take measures to prevent the occurrence of the Easter Sunday attack was retaken up for hearing from today. The President's Council of the BASL has further pointed out that they have the Reverend Cardinal was enlightened to the intelligence information. The carnage could have been avoided by cancelling the Easter Sunday services. The Attorney-at-Law has further stated that the non-convening of the Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to the meetings of the National Security Council was not a reason for excuse. He added that as Ranil Wickremesinghe was a member of the council, measures should have been taken to find out as to why he was not called for the meetings. The President's Council further said that there had been many attempts to place the burden on guilt only on the former Inspector General of Police and former Defence Secretary. The PC also said that all the relevant authorities, including the former President, must be held accountable for preventing the attack. The Colombo District Court has given dates for the final occasion today for appearance before the courts to a group including former President Maithripala Sirisena to respond to charges on 109 court cases. These cases have been filed on behalf of the killed or permanently disabled of the Easter Sunday attack, demanding compensation for the victims. Additional District Judge Colombo Chaturika De Silva has ordered respondents to file answers when the case scheduled to be taken up for hearings on the 2nd of May this year.
The COVID pandemic still persists here in the island as well as around the globe. And meanwhile, Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath says that the public, especially elderly population, should receive their respective vaccinations in order to be protected from the COVID-19 outbreak in the country and curb the spread of the infection further. He made these remarks while speaking to the media today.
According to the available reports, we know that at this moment there is no high peaks of case reporting in most of the countries in the world. We hope that there will be no further emergence of new variants, and if we hope for the best that this epidemic will be weaned off. During this, especially during this festive season, we'll have to act in a responsible manner by adhering to the health guidelines, and all those who have yet to get their vaccines need to get their appropriate vaccination and make sure that they are contributing to this national effort of controlling this epidemic. And we know that over 90% of the currently reported deaths are among the people who are above 60 years of age, and that means they are the most vulnerable people who are at higher risk of dying of this infection. To prevent the infection, we need to make sure that our elderly population is protected from this infection and also take their appropriate vaccination so that the spread of the disease will be minimal. We also have to mention whatever the sacrifice made by especially the health sector, both preventive and curative sector, in controlling and preventing the outbreaks of the current epidemic.
And now time to take a look at the global situation of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the deaths and the cases are rising back in Europe. And this is especially due to a new subvariant which has been identified. Not Delta, but not Omicron either. But this is a new subvariant of Omicron. So we are going in for details on this story. The new subvariant BA2 would be the latest in a long line to emerge since the pandemic began in China in late 2019. The Omicron variant, the most transmissible strain so far, overtook the Delta variant, which itself supplanted the Alpha variant. And even this was not the original strain of the virus. The BA2 variant is now responsible for over half of the new cases in Germany and makes up around 11% of cases in the United States as long as the virus continues to spread and replicate, particularly in populations which are under-vaccinated or where vaccine-induced immunity is decaying.
And now we are moving to more news from home. A new internet network has been introduced with the objective of a systematic management and resolution of complaints relating to labours, and it has been set up by the Department of Labour. Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva has presided over the ceremony in Colombo to introduce the website labourdipt.gov.lk or cms.labourdipt.gov.lk. Complaints on a variety of issues including salaries and minimum salaries, off days, non-payment of budgeted relief allowances, the Employment Provident Fund and private EPF funds, non-payment or delays in payments or gratitudes, deployment of women in night duties without permission and overtime payments.
Meanwhile, paddy harvesting in the Maha season in the Polonnaruwa district is presently taking place, whereas the Paddy Marketing Board has established 40 storages to store the stocks. Paddy is being cultivated in 79,000 hectares of land. A kilo of Nadu paddy is being purchased for 92 rupees and a kilo of Samba paddy for 94 rupees. The purchasing price of a kilo of Kiri Samba paddy is 97 rupees. And Polonnaruwa District Secretary W.A. Dharmasiri says that 4,480 metric tons of paddy have already been purchased.
The first kidney transplant surgery at the National Kidney Hospital in Polonnaruwa was successfully conducted yesterday. Hospital sources say that both the donor and the recipient are in good condition. The Polonnaruwa Kidney Hospital, managed by the Polonnaruwa General Hospital, is regarded as the largest kidney treatment hospital in Asia. It was established through sponsorship of the government of the People's Republic of China. In the first operation, a kidney of a mother was transplanted to her ailing daughter. Director of the Polonnaruwa General Hospital, specialist physician Dr. Indika Kumara says that kidney hospital is open for treatment for any kidney patient in any part of the island. And after this commercial break, we are moving to international news.
நீங்கள் வெளிநாட்டிலிருந்து அனுப்பும் பணத்தினை மக்கள் வங்கிக்கு அனுப்பினால் பரிசு குவியல்கள். People's Remittance கோடி அதிர்ஷ்டம். அனுப்புங்கள், வெல்லுங்கள்.
And you're back when we are with foreign news for you. And moving to North Korea, while the Ukrainian crisis is the hot topic in the world, North Korea yesterday fired a projectile, and this happens to be a missile launch as well, where North Korea has been trying to launch throughout the couple of months rather, whereas South Korea's attention has been focused on this issue.
North Korea fired an unknown projectile yesterday, which appeared to have fired immediately after launch. The launch came after the United States and South Korea warned that North Korea may be preparing to test fire an intercontinental ballistic missile at full range for the first time since 2017. The projectile was fired from an airfield outside the North Korean capital of Pyongyang, South Korea said in a statement. The airfield has been site of several recent launches, including on February 27th and March 5th. The North Korea urged those tests were developing components of the reconciliation satellite, but Seoul and Washington said that they were tests for a new ICBM system.
And And we are going in for sports news from ChannelEye's English news telecast. And we're starting with hockey, where Sri Lanka happens to be qualified. The Sri Lankan hockey team has qualified for the Asian Hockey Federation tournament, which is to be conducted meanwhile. As well as we're going in for some sports roundup based on, yes, basketball. We do have badminton, and also ending up with some cricket updates.
This was Sri Lanka's third victory in the tournament. Previously, the team has defeated Uzbekistan goals to 5-0 and Thailand goals 6-2 rather. This was the 50th international hockey match completed by captain of the Sri Lanka team, Madhuranga Vijayasinghe. Adal Kila of the Kandy Association has been able to receive the Muay Thai Boxing School National Trophy organised by the Boxing Council. The match took place at the Royal College Sports Complex in Colombo. 24 competitors were present at the Muay Thai Boxing National Tournament. The finals took place between Srilamal Rodrigo and Adal Kila. This was the first occasion that the event was conducted in Sri Lanka. Thailand ambassador in Sri Lanka, Pyongyang Hunpal, was also present. The Southern Province Open Badminton Tournament organised by the Southern Provincial Badminton Association has been conducted at the Dharmashoka College Indoor Stadium in Ambalangoda.
And that's it what we got for you tonight on the English news telecast of ChannelEye from the National News Studio. We'll bring you news updates tomorrow as well. Same time. Stay safe and good night.
Good night.